YouTube, what's going on? Well, what are we going to do? We're going to look at cars. Got some good ones. Got some really good ones. So, Autoworld, basically, pretty much my favorite out of all of them. All the brands. Might not have as many castings to offer in terms of just sheer volume, like a green light, for instance, would be, but they do a great job. Really, really good detail. And it's funny, the whole car's metal, so they get away with the good detail without having separate parts, like plastic stuff, like all the other brands. They'll do a bumper or a roof rack or whatever. Separate parts. Well, let's get to it. So this is new Autoworld stuff. Hemmings magazine cars kind of did a fun series. So we looked at, I think it was the Chevy pickup. I had to have that one. I haven't found it on the pegs. All these cars are able to get without going online. So that's how I prefer to do it. Of course, that's probably a lot of people's preferred method. It can get a little tedious having to wait so long and waiting for them to stock the shelves. But I did catch them at multiple locations, trying to stay safe, of course. But most of them are in return castings, but we got a couple new ones, like these caddies. So these are 1967 Eldorado Cadillacs, and we got two colors. We got the B and the A. A is white, which is the magazine car, and then the blue one, which is version B, and that one is their secondary model. So let's look at these. These look fun. And again, continuing with their theme of doing a lot more production runs on these cars. They really started out at 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Now they're doing, 10, 11, 13, 14,000 vehicles. So that's pretty good. And that's each, I think it's each color. Although, correct me, that Autoworld people, if I'm wrong. I don't know if it was for the whole casting run or if it was just each color. I can't remember. Basically, the only thing that changes was this little area here, and it says version B, but the rest of it's pretty much the same. And there's the back if you need it. There's your barcode. So there's the blue one, Venetian blue, Venetian, and then we have Grecian. We got Venetian and Grecian. White one. So this one's pretty cool looking. When I took this out, so I try to look at these before they go on camera just to see if I notice anything. This one did have a little bit of a casting error. We'll look at that in a minute. But I like collecting the Eldorados. I like all the Cadillacs. It's hard to get Cadillacs in 1/64th. Not a lot. I mean, there's a Matchbox and Hot Wheels does their stuff, which is all out of scale. So there's a lot of high-end diecast and resin makers, in different scales that do caddies, and those are expensive. So getting these, a high detail quality vehicle like this, and unusual subject. So 67 Eldorado, it's the first year for the front wheel drive Eldorado. And, by 1967, even though it's mid-century, it was on the 8th generation Eldorado. This is really the first or second time though that the Eldorado was its own vehicle. Typically Eldorado would have been like a trim level on like the sedan and coupe versions, and you might see if you have a sharp eye some of that issue with that casting. We've been through this before in previous videos, but so 67 first year, and it had the 429 8-cylinder in it, so it's a big block motor. During this period, Cadillac did their own engines. General Motors corporate mandate, in the 70s, 80s, they went to a corporate engine style, meaning that they'd share engines throughout the line. Well, Cadillac, Buick, Olds, they all had their own V8s, their own engineering. So they shared lots of things, but not everything. And Cadillac engines were very, very durable. They were much heavier cast than most of the other mass production vehicles, so standard of the world really applied still to them. Very, very heavy duty engine, really, really big. So this borrowed from the Tornado. So Tornado front wheel drive vehicle before the Eldo. Eldo went to this drive in '67. It was using the General Motors automatic transmission, torque converter, and you can see how it's longitudinally mounted. You know, modern front-wheel drive vehicles, you know, the engine is transverse. So basically they mated the torque converter and the transmission assembly next to the engine, sort of in the back behind it, to get space, and then had the transfer of power through these two axles. But there's a chain drive, so the back of the engine had a chain drive, and then it spun the tranny, which, you know, did the axles and stuff like that. Very interesting. And the cars were known for their flat floors. You could seat many, many people in this vehicle. There was no transmission tunnel, no drive shaft. So this is basically flat. It's almost like a minivan floor. Framed car, though. And there's your dual exhaust. So, very, very cool car. Two variations. We've seen these before in detail, so we won't waste too much time. We can take a zoom for a minute, though, just to see. I think the casting, the mold, is getting a little tired. There has been, for the last couple of releases of this car, issues with the wheel wells. And hoods are good. The gap has been getting bigger up here, so that's something I've noticed. Usually the tail of the car is pretty good. Let me get this to, there we go. There's our crest, there's our Cadillac crest. Both of them have the classic car plates on them. You can see a little rough around there. Application of the tampo work is decent, but this is a pretty big issue. I think I saw another one that was carded, I just didn't buy it. But, so, and I can't tell if that's just paint. It looks like it's paint or a casting issue, so it's kind of hard to tell. Under magnification now, though, it looks more like a paint issue. The problem with non-metallics like this, you have to lay it on really thick, so whites and flat colors, they don't tend to do real well. It's usually the metallic ones that look much better. You can see it too. A little bit of a casting issue there. Or it could be a bunch of paint. So here's your information, and we can look at the Venetian blue. A lot of baby blue caddies. They did white walls, wide white walls on this one, and this one's got the normal white wall. I have not blackwashed these wheel covers. I did it on the other ones. I probably will on these. But it'll look good with the other caddies. Definitely. Same motor. Such really good level of detail, I mean, for the price point. I mean, all separate pieces in there. I think they really do a good job. And this body profile is excellent. The peak back here, the Cadillac is such a great body style. This is one of the ones, you know, if you're just collecting cars just on their styling, not having to do anything with performance or anything, like this would be one of the cars. I mean, this is almost like having a show car. A lot of this styling borrowed from those show cars of General Motors, especially the tail lights. Just an awesome car. Would be good to find one. They are increasing in value, the real ones. They used to not be that expensive just because people weren't into doing the maintenance and stuff like that. And, you know, it's hard to find parts, but body parts, I guess. But they're such great cars. They really are design. One of the best designs of the 60s, I'd say. All right, Cadillac front-wheel drive. Moving on. We're going to do some Chrysler cars. So, we're going to look at the Challenger, and I can't remember if we did the white Challenger, but definitely the green one we're going to look at. And then we'll look at the new Challenger in a little bit. So that's a new casting we're going to look at. But such cool cars. It's funny, you know, that Cadillac, drum brakes were standard in '67. They went to a full front disc brakes standard in '68, where basically the car is the same vehicle. Went from a 429 V8, was already big, to a 472. So almost 500. Then they pushed the 500s, you know, into the late '60s, early '70s. They went to 500. They just went crazy. So, you know, the autoworld, the next one coming out, the '76, that's the biggest Cadillac ever. And I got both colors coming, so we'll do probably an exclusive on those as soon as they hit the as soon as they hit the garage. All right, so let's look at these. These are Muscle Machine cars. This is number 4 in the series. Look at this. So green car, I absolutely love it. I think I got a couple of these now just because, you know, they weren't snatched up very quickly. It's been an existing casting, so I was able to find them. Just like most of the other ones, especially the Cadillacs for some reason. Cadillacs are always good to have. So they're saying, you know, we're putting in the, is this the 426? I think both of these cars are Hemi cars that they're depicting. So 70 Challenger, first year for the body and stuff. And then the back, there's your information there. All right, so let's look. Let's take a look at these guys. Let's look at this one. My favorite. It's already, you'll see some wear. This was a pocket car for a few days. It's just a great car. It's probably one of my favorites right now to keep around. And then the white one. And they did an homage to Vanishing Point, which is a great movie. Their car chase movie from the 70s. So white Challenger, but I think his was a 440 car, not a Hemi. But these are RTs, and they got the RT hood. They don't have any shaker hood. They don't have any ram. Well, basically the shakers, I guess you'd say, because I guess these have scoops, and I can't remember if this one, the RT hood, was functional or not. Some of them were just for show. So we got a vinyl top car, which is a real car, real production car that was on the cover of Hemmings, and then this is kind of like depicting Vanishing Point because we got the Colorado tags, and it says VP, so that's always pretty funny. Also, again, old casting. It's been around. They did redo the tires. They used to do these tires, which for all the castings up until these. So they used to do these flat, kind of funny tires. Same rims, and then they do their more updated polyglass looking tire with some sidewall detail, like there's more curvature to the tire, so it looks better. It's a little fat for the size of the wheel, but they do tuck up in there good, and they run straight. They don't really hang up on the car at all. This one wasn't that bad. I mean, this style tire wasn't too bad. Sometimes they'd fall off the rims, but was decent. I think that's a 340 TA, so that was like a Trans Am car. But here we go. So RT, and then they have the passenger side Pentastar on the quarter, lower quarter. It's not on the driver's side. So that's kind of neat. This one, there it is, I think. Let's zoom it in. Yeah. There it goes. Look at the detail on that. I don't know. Let's see if the camera will get to it. Maybe we'll bring a little more light into the subject. Yeah, you could see that there. So, pretty cool. And again, we got the flat white, which was actually decent on this, but you can see how their metallics lay nicer. And that's just the way it is with what paint they're using. You can see a lot more detail. So, vinyl roof on this car, I guess, was... I actually... Hemmings, a lot of the archive on their magazines, and they have a bunch of different series of magazines. They got muscle car and classic cars and British cars or whatever. All different subsets, but this is the Muscle Machines one. I read the article. The car is pretty rare. I think someone ordered it. I was reading about it. Like, they ordered it, and they wanted to get, you know, all this stuff on it. They got the dog dish wheels, but they got the motor, and I think this car is a stick shift car, which makes it even better. It's not an automatic. It's just an interesting design. You know, you did the what do they call this one? Yeah, dark green poly. So, just awesome. So, RT, you can get a bunch of motors in them, but the Hemi was the big dog. And, you know, you can make this car streetable, but most of the time you just tuned these cars up and just ran them hard. Because you were, you know, basically in this car, you're going to win. When these cars were tuned correctly and had the right tire and all that, they were very strong. 1970 was a good year for that car. It really was. I mean, Chevy and Ford were running strong. I mean, 60s, Chevy had some really powerful vehicles. But Chrysler with the Hemi. in these lightweights. I mean, it was great. This car is tiny. I mean, we'll see. Compared to the modern Challenger, it's tiny. It's a small car. It's like a Mustang. It's like a first gen Mustang. All right, looked at that. Love it. You can see there's some wear on it already. Look at that. But I love the dog dish. They use these wheels on everything. They put them on Mopars, Fords, and Chevys. Same rib. Same color paint, but this whole wheel is chrome before they paint it, so you could see. It really needs like 2 coats of paint, not one, and it seems like they only do one. Fortunately, I don't have metallic paint running around. If it's black, that's one thing, or red, but metallic green. You can get that out of a spray can. Just got to kind of, what they call decant it. You got to spray it and then put it in a cup, and you can kind of take your brush in there and touch that up. So that might happen, but I don't know. I mean, come on. I got many cars to look at and take care of. But what a cool car. I love it. Muscle cars are very nice. So we're going to look at Mustang. This is a 71 Mustang Boss 351 car. So Boss 351, 1971. So this is still considered on the first generation Mustang chassis. Mustang was a unit construction car. Didn't have a frame. I had kind of a subframe, but they did, big sheet metal, bigger sheet metal and all that. But it was kind of based on the same thing. The second gen Mustang really was the Mustang 2, and that bowed in 1974, and that was really based on a fair amount Pinto, that kind of thing. So this is just a big car. They were trying to make it more, do more with more. I'll say it that way. Do more with more. So I want to make the car bigger. A lot of cars are getting bigger. They wanted more space. 71, they still had some good horsepower figures. It was really 72 into 73 where it really just took a dump. But during this period, you still can get some good horsepower, good high compression. This is right before they got kind of cut off, but they made the car bigger. And this was basically, went from this to this. And it was just marketing. I mean, the car itself was almost the same engineering. Many engines. They had a 250 cubic inch 6-cylinder, a 302 V8, 351. So they had 3 351 motors in the brochure and 2 429 Cobra Jet motors. The Boss came standard with the highest output of the 351s, advertised of 330 horse. It was a Ram air car. Boss cars came with Ram. They also had Mach 1s. Mach 1 was more like a trim package. Mach 1, you can get a lot more different engines, but the Boss was a 351 car. Good horse out of this motor. I mean, this car was bigger and heavier, but it wasn't too crazy. But it was a little bit bigger. Big fastback. Again, basically 1971 to 73, so it's kind of a short-lived vehicle. This one, I think I'll have to buy another one because I don't know if I want to drill this out. As you can see, the steering wheel was not attached. So this car is going to stay in the shop for a while. But I thought that'd be funny before I fixed it. This had the optional Magnum 500 Ford chrome wheels. These have not been detailed by me yet. This is how they come from the factory. So sometimes you'll get the tampoing in there kind of thin or off center. So this is kind of on center, just really thin. So you can go in there with a brush and tune that up. This has the more original tires that Autoworld's been using for quite a long time. They call this color medium yellow gold, and this is the magazine car, so I'm glad to get it. But they also do a dark green one, so I want that too. I like these kind of late first gen. They're really like a second gen, but these are funny. They grew on me. I used to not like these at all, but I kind of like them just because they're unique looking from, the normal Mustang, which everybody thinks of this and the earlier ones. So yeah, let's look at this 351 blue Ford motor, power plant under there. Good detail. This is a lot of Autoworld and collectors' favorite cars. A lot of these are quite popular with everyone, and I can see why. There's my white one. That's actually one of the earlier releases. You can see how the casting was very crisp back then. A little bit less production number on this. I think this was the car and driver one, where it was in that big blister pack. And then here's a regular release here where it used to come with the box, the little cardboard box. So they're just great cars. They got a lot of graphics on them. So these are Mach 1 cars, and I got a Boss 351, so that's kind of cool. Kind of different. Stripe package is almost the same. These cars, I can't remember. I never opened up that because that's really tight. These could have had the big blocks in them. I don't know what they were depicting on these, but you can get. I guess you could get down to the 302 or the base 351, which they say 2V, which I was saying the other one, 2 valve, 4 valve. 4-barrel, 2-barrel carb, 1 barrel. A lot of the brochures, a lot of literature, a lot of the press, they refer to 4, 2, 3, all that stuff, whatever it was, as valve. But it was really saying that it was a 4-barrel carburetor. But sometimes they'd say 4V, 2V. And that was just, sometimes they'd say valve instead of barrel, which I thought was funny. All right, so we looked at that. That is in medium yellow gold, is what they're calling it. Such good cars, such good cars. All right, so a lot of, late 60s, early 70s. Good time frame. The last two cars we're going to look at. My first 1967 Chevelle for the collection. Johnny Lightning does a lot of these, but they're kind of, the scale is not correct. So, but I like this one. We have the 66, now we have the 67, so pretty much same vehicle, but they changed the front and back on them. So look at this. Engines got refined. You could get nice big motors in these cars. I think we talked last time getting 396 in this. And look at that. So this is depicting the factory stock drags. So you have to run basically what you could from the factory, what was a factory equipment. And they run these cars in drag racing now. So you have these cars, you make them look completely stock, perfect, allowed very, very minimal changes. You can only tune it up, maybe run different jets, I think. I can't remember, but, stock tire, all that. And they race them. So this is one of those magazine cars, a 2015 magazine series on the 67. This is a pretty strong running car. It's got supposed to be rallies with trim rings, but they just did kind of like a steel wheel. But you could see the car here. This might have been one of the winners. So, it's how these guys prepared these cars is who made them win. You had to use the stock gear ratio, all those type of things, whatever came with the car or what was available for the model year. I think this one opens, but I can't remember. There it goes. Really blingy. It's got the chrome rocker covers and all that, chrome air cleaner. It looks good. Looks good. Let's see if the zoom will work better for us to take a look under there. I'm sure a Chevy big block of some sort, right? You can see a little alternator driver up there. That's funny. So they work good. I mean, the wheels work good for what they're trying to depict on the small scale. Very dusty. Let's see if we can get that off. Sometimes the cat comes up here, or the dog. You gotta swat them down. All right. At the Muscle Machine's front end. Look at that. Let's take a look. Wow. So we talked about this car a little bit last time when we saw the blue one, the 66. Look at that. So we got the. Let's see if the lighting can get better a little bit. Here. Let's come up here. There we go. Final top. Super Sport. Tampa works good. Yeah. So very sharp. And then I brought the blue one down just so we could compare. Just if you can't remember what they used to look like. You could see the year-to-year change. You can see why car companies stopped doing that. You know, that becomes expensive trying to change all that stuff, even if it's just, the front. But, it really wasn't just the front. They might have had a different steering wheel. Maybe the dashboard had different gauges. Like, yeah, there was a lot of different things they had to change. And a lot of times now cars can last 3, 4, 5, 6 years. If you're Nissan or one of those people, maybe 10, 12 years, your cars be the same. But, yeah, they just can't do it like they used to. Kind of crazy. Made everything you kind of bought kind of rare. You could option one of these cars and get pretty down to one of 20 or one of 100 pretty quickly. All right. So, last car, we'll look at a new casting. Really the only modern car in this video this time. We usually look at maybe more than one or two. This time we just had muscle cars. Muscle. And some Cadillac. But those Cadillacs are muscle cars too. Quite strong. Alright, so I did get the magazine car. I wanted this one. There is a silver one, so I'll try catching that soon. I'm sure I'll find it. People have been very aggressive with these, trying to collect these though. These auto worlds, they used to not be like that. Even in like 2014, 15, kind of were pretty relaxed collecting experience. Now it's pretty tight. There you go. And there's a lot of online sellers you can get if you're desperate, but I try to hunt them. So this is Plum Crazy, of course. And Hellcat car, 6.2 liter vehicle, so a huge motor. It's supercharged. It's got a huge roots blower on the valley there, the V8. It's like a 2 liter, 1.9 liter blower, whatever it is. So this is like the most recent generation of this car. The platform debuted, which is funny, in 08. But, they used the, on the LX cars, they kind of broadened the chassis. But back in that time, they got funding. They were merged with Daimler, so Mercedes. And even though this was on a Chrysler body, Mercedes front and rear suspension were carried into this vehicle. So, kind of gives it that ride. If you drive an old Benz, like a mid-2000s Mercedes, a little bit earlier than that, and drive one of these Chargers, Challenger cars, Chrysler 300s, they're very, very similar. The suspension, rebound, and shock setting might be different, but the way the car handles and the steering angle and everything is very close to an E-Class. Very, very funny, but they're still beefy. I mean, these cars are enormous compared to the old one. And I don't know if this really shows it, because in real life, this car is substantially bigger than this one. It really is. Even the weight is a big difference. But, this car is 400 or 500 horsepower. If you tune that Hemi up, I mean, you get damn near 500 if you're doing the right thing. But this car is 707 horse. There's 2 keys on it. There's a key that limits the horsepower and settings and all that. And then you get a key that dumps all the horsepower. Still a rear-wheel drive vehicle. And these cars, like the Demon and the Hellcat and all that, they have their own fenders. They get the wider fenders and the wider wheels and all that. This one kind of had crooked wheels. They're very delicate. So Autoworld did a good job with the spokes and all that. It looks good. It's got good relief and everything. But the tires, I took the tires off all 4 rims and kind of took any flash off the tires, but I still had trouble with getting the seat pretty good. They look decent. Mini GT, I think, and Kyosho do the best with these type of like thin spoke, delicate wheels. They're able to get the tire to sit pretty decent. This one having trouble, I'd say. I'd say it's having just a little bit of trouble. It's not too bad. I mean, one of the few recent releases. I mean, I know the Camaro and stuff. The older Camaro body has a low profile tire, but I don't know. This is a new design. These aren't the same. So I was looking at that. It's kind of different. Alright, so let's see if we can lighten this up a little bit. That's too light. Here's the back. So again, we're most recent. So Dodge went to a split taillight again. They used to have one single red bar. I think this car only came in an automatic. I can't remember. You Chrysler people tell me. You could get the V8 with a stick shift, of course, but I can't remember if the max horsepower car was an automatic only. The other thing about this too, I was looking at this. This car's window doesn't go in the quarter window back here doesn't go down, so it's kind of like it looks like a concept car because you're really supposed to have a window here. That doesn't go down in the real car. Only the front window does, so it's kind of wrong. But they have the updated interior, where it's more of a wraparound dash. And bucket seats and all that. But I love it. And there's the Hellcat dude. Or gal. Could be a lady. There he is right there. Here's your front. Of course, they get their own hood. And they get these little BMW-esque lights there. I think one of those is a scoop. I can't remember. Or maybe it's not a scoop. I can't remember. You tell me. I think one of them is a scoop. And they got their own front end. The next generation of these, they're going to do the yellow air dam guards that come from the factory. A lot of guys run those on the street as some sort of club thing. And they all kind of do that as like a style statement. I thought it was funny, but so they're gonna actually put that on the next release of those cars. I thought that was kind of funny. Let's see if we can get a look at the hood. I don't think we did do that, and I don't know. Let's see if we can get the blade in there. Yeah, we got it. Blade's much thinner than my fingernail. So you can see the blown motor. Huge motor, really, really big. How they keep that thing warranted, I don't know. I'm sure it's okay. I mean, they put this in everything. They got it in the Jeep now. I think there is going to be a Jeep Grand Cherokee casting coming. I can't remember where I saw that, but pretty sure. Only other thing they did, they blackwashed the scoops. That's pretty good. Usually most companies miss that. So there's the motor. Looks good. There's our stripes. I mean, for the most part, the car is nice, and it's metallic paint, so the purple lays really good. And I do like purple. I do like the purple cars. They look kind of cool. Hopefully, and I can't remember if Autoworld did a first-gen Challenger with the purple. That would be kind of cool to see. But there we go. Well, we looked at some cars today. We certainly did. And we have more coming. We do. Probably some M2. Maybe we'll do some M2, maybe some Hot Wheels. I don't know. But there we have it. Hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for all the wonderful comments and new subscriptions. I and the channel very much deeply appreciate it. So thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time.